In 2017, Russell Westbrook would have his best NBA season, averaging a triple-double, which would lead him to win the MVP. And this was very special for Russell Westbrook, who just came off losing Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors. It was only 5 years ago that happened. So how is it 5 years later that Russell Westbrook is now considered the laughingstock of the NBA? His play style has not changed as much, and he still averages triple-doubles almost every single game. This is a very weird situation because Russell Westbrook was traded to the Lakers to win a championship and to have a really good season, but he's done the complete opposite, and the Lakers look like they might not even make the playoffs. How did we get here, and is it too late for Russell Westbrook to have a bounce back season and possibly be something of his MVP form? Of course, before I get into the content, if you guys could leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new and notifications on. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, and your subscription would be greatly appreciated. Let's get into the video. Now, a common misconception that a lot of people have is that Russell Westbrook has always been someone that can take care of the ball, or at least for that matter, that he doesn't rack up a lot of turnovers, which at first glance I thought was the same thing until I did a little bit of research. Let's take the MVP season that Russell Westbrook had, which was the 2016-2017 season. In that season, he would average 5.4 turnovers, which was the most in his career by far. What about the following season, where again he would average a triple-double, 4.8 turnovers, which would be the second most in his career, with the first being his MVP season? I think we're starting to notice a little bit of a trend here. What about this season, where a lot of people are saying Russell Westbrook needs to be traded and that he's no longer good? 4.4 turnovers per game. Interesting. On the screen right now, you can see Russell Westbrook's stats throughout his whole career, and if you look at this, you can clearly see that he's having far less turnovers this season than he has in years before. If we look at the stats, he's averaging 4.4 turnovers per game, which is only about 0.3 turnovers above the normal turnovers he has per season, which is 4.1. So looking at these stats, it's clear that Russell Westbrook has always been a turnover machine, which shows me that the season that Russell Westbrook is having is actually pretty normal. So why is it now he's getting more ridiculed than he ever has before in his career? Well, the answer might be a little more obvious than you think, and that's because he's playing for the Lakers. When you play for a team like the Lakers, which is arguably the most popular NBA franchise, you're going to get ridiculed a lot more than you ever have in your career. Even if you didn't really do that much wrong, even if you have one bad game, Lakers fans are going to tear you up. Now, are there times that Russell Westbrook is playing like a dumbass and like the worst NBA player in the league? Yes, but looking at everything I've seen, it doesn't seem like that this is something that Russell Westbrook hasn't done before. I think we also need to take into account that the Lakers are not winning, and everyone knows this, but if you're winning, then no one really cares how many turnovers you're having or how bad a player is doing, as long as you guys are winning and getting it done. But the Lakers are not winning, and Russell Westbrook is not having a good season, which is two bad things at once, which you don't ever want. Now, of course, people are not just mad at Russell Westbrook's turnovers, but his shooting percentage. So let's look at his MVP season, where Russell Westbrook completely went off and everyone thought he was the best player in the league. In that season, he would shoot 43% from the field, which going off of his career averages really isn't that much difference to what he normally puts up. So what about this season, where Russell Westbrook is now being known as Russell Westbrook? A shooting percentage of 44% from the field. So not only is he shooting better from the field than his MVP season, but statistically this is normal Russell Westbrook activities. But when we come to a realization, I don't honestly think that that's why people are mad when it comes to just strictly his field goal percentage. It's no secret that Russell Westbrook cannot shoot from the three, so what is it compared to his MVP season? That year he would average 34% from three, and what's crazy about it is that he wasn't taking just 1 or 2 threes per game, he would take 7.2 threes per game while making 2.5 of them. So for one season in his whole entire career, Russell Westbrook could literally do everything, include being a sharpshooter. And with this season, the man has literally shot 28% from three while taking only about 3 threes per game. But going back to previous seasons, Russell Westbrook has been notorious for shooting around 30% or less from three. So it's been apparent that in his whole career, he's never been that good of a three-point shooter, which is one of the key reasons why a lot of people said that the Lakers should not have gotten Russell Westbrook, because their spacing was already terrible as it is, and getting Russell Westbrook would not make it easier. But instead of Westbrook, the Lakers opted to get a guy like Buddy Hield, who by far is a way better three-point shooter and scorer, and it would be someone that you could space the floor with. But then again, Lakers fans already knew that Russell Westbrook was a terrible three-point shooter. They knew he was a guy that was turnover prone. They knew you couldn't space the floor with him. So why are Lakers fans now mad that Russell Westbrook is doing things that he's done his whole entire career? And as if I haven't mentioned before, that playing in Los Angeles is a very different scenery compared to playing in OKC or Houston, and on top of playing on a team with LeBron James, and when you guys were so hyped up, already being called a super team before you guys even suited up to play a single NBA game. Yeah, maybe there's a reason why a lot of people are ridiculing you guys. So now that we know that this is something that Russell Westbrook does every single season and that he's not doing anything out of the ordinary, and in fact statistically he's playing a little better than normal, can Russell Westbrook bounce back in the eye of the public, and can we see him again, not as an MVP per se because of the age and the fact that he's not going to be the best player on the Lakers, but can Russell Westbrook finally get back to at least a somewhat decent NBA player that he can go a game without being ridiculed by fans? Well, if you're using the scale on NBA Twitter, then the answer is no, but to be fair, you literally cannot come back on NBA Twitter. It's the most ruthless place, and it's kind of dumb at the same time. But to the NBA as a whole and to actual basketball fans that aren't casual Twitter people, then yeah, I think Russell Westbrook really could. Now the question is, what do NBA fans actually want from Russell Westbrook? Some might say more turnovers and maybe stop trying to go for a triple-double, but in a video made by my favorite NBA YouTuber Jimmy High Roller, he mentioned a point about Russell Westbrook's turnovers that I want to play in this video. Of course, the link to his channel will be in the description below so you guys can check out that same video. In fact, I think it's on trending right now, but let's take a look at this.
Since Russ's game-changing 2016-2017 season, he has racked up 157 triple-doubles. And in those 157 games, his team has a record of 111-46, a 71% winning percentage over a 6-season span.
So with all the numbers that Jimmy has laid out for us, that shows us that when Russell Westbrook does get a triple-double, that his team is more likely to win, which when you think about it does make some sense. So at this point, when Laker fans actually look at this, or if you're a Russell Westbrook fan, or if you just straight up gave up on Russell Westbrook, is it safe to say that he could bounce back and that this is completely normal? Now before I end this video, I do want to show something that I've been seeing a lot on Twitter, and it's called the Russell Westbrook cycle. The cycle starts out with Russell Westbrook for the first couple of months of the season looking like the worst basketball player of all time, and then between January and February he starts to develop and actually looks good, and then to close out the season he starts to look like the greatest basketball player of all time. And in the final months of the season you start to see that Russell Westbrook is actually a pretty good basketball player. Now I could go more in depth into the Russell Westbrook cycle, but that's another video for another time. So whether you're a Lakers fan or a Russell Westbrook fan or someone that just loves the game of basketball, is it fair enough to say that Russell Westbrook is actually going to be just fine and that maybe we're all overreacting about Russell Westbrook in his recent play?